about making sure that when you come out here, there are no questions. All the questions are in the meeting room, and so when you come out here, you can play fast.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. On a Friday, hope you're feeling great. Know the weather's kind of a bummer, but otherwise, it's been another great day. Yankees have won today at Wrigley Field. That makes everybody happy because the Yankees are South Carolina's official baseball team and America's team as well. 3-run homer. By the way, this is related to South Carolina. 3-run homer, 2 outs in the top of the 9th by Brett Gardner, the College of Charleston stud. He hit the 3-run homer for the Yankees to pull out the victory. The Yankees lead the majors with 18 wins, if you didn't know this. 9 already come from behind wins. Tells me they got a little something going, a little something special brewing in the Bronx, K-Mac.
Come from behind 9th inning or come from behind 7th and on? I want a little more details on this.
I think if you trailed and you came from behind to win.
At any point in time, so a team scores in the top of the first and you end up winning 10-1, that's a come from behind win.
Well, technically it is. I'd have to look at the statistical rule to find out. I just heard the stat today. I'm just repeating what I
always think if you come from behind after the 6th inning, that's a little more impressive.
They have that too, but in terms of come from behind victories as deemed by the Elias Sports Bureau and used extensively by Major League Baseball, the Yankees have 9 come from behind victories.
Somewhere in a Baton Rouge hotel room, Chad Holbrook sat at that game on while he was preparing his lineup and was watching that happen and thought, man, Madden, I know how you feel right now. I've seen that before. Hey, I have seen that before.
There's not a baseball coach.
He turned it off. That probably just brought flat. That was a trigger. That was one of those things. He's in the corner of his room in the fetal position. What happened?
There is not a baseball coach worth his 3-day-old beard who hasn't had that happen to him. Lose a game, have a game in hand. Look, this was Cubs were up 2-0, 2 outs, 2-2 pitch. They were a strike away. That's what makes baseball so beautiful.
Well, yeah, but sometimes it happens more than others.
Yes.
It's cruel.
Yeah.
For Chad Holbrook, he's probably going, good, it's happening to somebody else. Maybe it won't happen to me.
Well, the Gamecocks, since you brought it up.
That was my segue. I was setting you up for the LSU series so we could stop talking about the Yankees.
Nicely done. The Gamecocks in action tonight at LSU, 8 o'clock the game time in Baton Rouge. And a chance for the Gamecocks again to see if they can get things turned in a more positive direction. They got a win over Wofford midweek, got some home runs in that game. So some guys maybe coming off the schneid, starting to feel a little bit better. Baton Rouge came back, a tough place to start an SEC series winning streak.
Yeah, it's a tough place to start any sort of winning streak. Alex Box Stadium is one of the toughest venues in America. Their fans are passionate. They'll be souped up on their Cajun juice. I'm sure they have some roadkill cooking on the grills outside of the stadium right now. Some possum, some raccoon, little squirrel, maybe skunk. Is it skunk season?
Nutria rat. That's the rat that hangs out in the canals in New Orleans, Nutria.
Okay. Thank you for that, Jared.
They, as passionate as they are, like you say, though, they're as tough on their team as we perceive Gamecock fans and Clemson fans on their team. I mean, they settle for nothing short of Omaha. Nothing short of Omaha, and hardly anything short of a national championship.
I'll say this, though. I've talked to people that cover that program that follow college baseball, and yes, they are passionate and they want to win, and the expectation is high there. But I have yet to find anybody that covers a lot of baseball, the national guys that go to all the stadiums. I still don't think any coach in college baseball is under more scrutiny for every single decision than Chad Holbrook. I mean, every single thing that he does, if it doesn't work out, he's a complete bum. Every single game that he coaches, almost every inning is a referendum on his ability to be a baseball coach. Every series is a referendum. And that didn't just start during this 5-week stretch where they've lost 5 straight SEC series. That goes back to last year. They missed the postseason, and maybe that's what really turned the heat up on him. And if they miss it again this year, he's in really hot water. But
with the fans,
not necessarily with Ray Tanner, but Ray Tanner at some point the AD is forced to do something. I mean, if things go so bad and it's Steve Spurrier, what was the expression? He's gone bad, or he turned bad. At some point, you have to do something.
Yeah.
You have to say, look, it's not working. Fans aren't showing up. The passion's gone, and really, for the first time in 15, 20 years for South Carolina baseball, at least since Ray Tanner took over, the program really does seem to be at a crossroads where the foundation might be a little shaky.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens here. It's an opportunity for South Carolina. We'll see if they can play good, solid baseball. I mean, they've got the goods to do well. They've got the starting pitching. They've got the defense. The hitting is a little suspect. Of course, they have had injuries. There's no question about that. You cannot deny the fact that he's had to juggle the lineup because of performance and because of injuries. And we'll wait and see what lineup comes out tonight for South Carolina. But you know that Hopkins is iffy. Tolbert is iffy. Cullen is iffy. That's a third of your lineup. Destino has not been producing. You take him out, that's another. Now he hit a homer the other night.
One into the warehouse.
But that doesn't mean you're going to turn it right around. So we'll see. They need a big performance out of Will Crow tonight. He needs to be the ace now that Schmidt is out. He'll get his chance tonight. Junior righty, 4-4, 3.56 ERA. He'll face Alex Lang, a junior righty, 5-4, 3.31 ERA, and he's a hard thrower, 86 strikeouts in 65 innings. So he throws heat. Tomorrow, Adam Hill against Jared Poche, a senior lefty. Hill is 3-3, 2.30 ERA. Poche, 7-3, 3.55 ERA. He is not a strikeout pitcher, only 46 in 66 innings. USC will wait on its Sunday starter. Eric Walker, freshman righty, will start for LSU on Sunday, 5-1, 3.69 ERA. Game times for this series tonight will be 8 o'clock in Eastern time on the SEC network, 8 o'clock tomorrow on the SEC network, and then Sunday at 3 o'clock on ESPN.
Is it on SEC Plus tonight or SEC Network?
Correctamundo, SEC Network Plus.
So it's not on.
Yeah, my bad.
Your regular.
I couldn't
television.
I missed the little plus sign down there.
If the Gamecocks don't use Tyler Johnson tonight, and if they don't use Tyler Johnson tomorrow night, and you get to Sunday, do you start Tyler Johnson?
I don't think so, because I mean, they're never going to work him more than 30, 35 pitches in any kind of outing. Relief.
Yeah, he started games. I mean, last year he was starting in the postseason.
He hadn't had the arm scare. You throw him out there as a starter, you might get 3 innings out of him. And then you got nobody at the back end of your bullpen in a close game. But, who knows? Maybe they think a better start is a better idea than a good end. Who knows? I know there are some younger arms that they feel good about. Colby Lee pitched well the other night. They could always run Cody Morris out there. They got people they can turn to. They just have to deliver. These two teams haven't played since 2015, and LSU in Columbia won that series 2-1, and first time they've been in Baton Rouge since 2013. So for the guys on this team, it's the first time they've been in the setting at the box. So they're going to, of course, they're used to loud, big crowds in Columbia.
Hostile towards them often. It'll be like a home game for them.
That was you, K-Mac, not me. But, yeah, it will be a hostile crowd for them in Baton Rouge tonight. So we'll talk more about that. We've got some golf coming your way. George Bryan will be here, the full Monty on NASCAR activity on the track at Talladega. Recruiting. Kerryon Joyner's got something coming up tonight, and Ernest Jones later, too. I mentioned a couple of things in recruiting before the break. The Kerryon Joyner, quarterback from Fort Dorchester, tweeted out this afternoon something was coming, and checking with him, he is going to announce his top 2 tonight, anytime now. He said around 6 o'clock, moving that up for a week. He had planned to do it on Mother's Day, which is next weekend. And, of course, he's still announcing on Father's Day. My guess is it'll be South Carolina and NC State. Of course, he's already made a decision, as he told us earlier this week, and he's told the coaches, he said. So we'll see what happens moving forward with him. And then a little bit after 7 o'clock, Ernest Jones IV, linebacker from Waycross, Georgia, is going to announce his commitment. And strongly feeling the Gamecocks here. USC, Florida, Duke, his final 3. We'll talk more about him a little bit later. But he's going to have a little gathering there in Waycross and make his announcement at that time. More recruiting coming up for you a little bit later on, too. If you'd like to join us on this Friday night, if you're bundled up at home, shivering, wondering about should I turn the heat back on, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Just pretty much wide open for what you want to talk about tonight as we hit another weekend. Going to be kind of a quiet weekend for the most part, with USC out of town, Clemson playing a non-league series against Nevada starting on Saturday. Of course, we're getting closer and closer to the beginning of the football time. Heck, we're just roughly 2 months away from SEC Media Days in July. So it's coming quickly, just like a freight train coming right at us, and always looking forward to it. But we got to get through the rest of baseball here, see what happens, and then go from there. The Wells Fargo tournament over in Wilmington, they're into, of course, round number 2. We'll talk more golf with George Bryan III coming up here in a little bit. But today, Billy Hurley III and Seamus Power, they have the lead in round 2. They're at 5 under par. They have a one-shot lead over a group of other golfers. As far as our local guys go, Ben Martin is on the course. He's at 3 under par. Mark Anderson, a 72. He's at 2 under. Dustin Johnson's on the course at 2 under par. Sam Saunders is on the course at 2 under par. Phil Mickelson, we like him, even though he's not one of ours. 72 today. He's at 1 under par. Lucas Glover is in at even par, 73. Bill Haas is at +1 on the course. Scott Brown's at +1. Kevin Kisner, a 72. He's +3. Bill McGirt is on the course at +3. Tough day for Wesley Bryan, 77 for him, 6 over. And that's it as far as the local contingent is concerned. I imagine this course is over in Wilmington. I think it's near the ocean. Probably got a lot of wind, K-Mac, on this kind of day. The wind is blowing, I imagine. Haven't had a chance to watch much of it, but I imagine it's been pretty tough out there today.
Yep, I would imagine so. It's strange with this tournament being played in Wilmington and not up at Quail Hollow. But, yeah, there's probably a fair amount of wind out there, Corn. But I'm sure these pros know how to handle a little bit of wind. They are professionals.
That's why they're pros.
That's why they are pros, and they get paid the big bucks.
Rain, I did watch some action at Talladega this afternoon, and rain was a problem there. They had a brief practice session today. The leading driver on the track today in terms of his speed was Clint Boyer.
What?
Yeah, 196.822. Red flag came out at 244. And kind of shut things down at that point. And I think, let's see, rain in the area led to the canceling of the final practice, which had been scheduled for 4:30. I think qualifying there comes up tomorrow. 10:30 in the morning tomorrow for qualifying Eastern time. More on NASCAR coming up. The full Monty on a NASCAR at 7:30 with Monty Dutton. Note from the SEC today that the schools will adopt the recent practice recommendations by the NCAA Sports Science Institute for football. And, of course, the recommendations outline parameters specific to practices conducted in the preseason, in-season, postseason, and spring segments. This was accepted unanimously by SEC ADs, league presidents, and chancellors. And this includes the reduction of live contact practices during the preseason and regular season. And the council also voted to restrict schools nationwide from conducting multiple contact practices a day in the preseason, eliminating two-a-days. And this will take effect right away. So, they're trying to take steps to make the sport safer. They think one way to do that is to cut down on the contact in practice. Steve Spurrier would applaud this. Dabo Swinney, I think, would applaud this. I imagine that Will Muschamp will frown over this. Just different approaches to things. He's a big believer in full contact, heavy contact in practices. Spurrier, of course, tried to limit it. I think Swinney maybe has gone a little more physical recently, did so this spring with his quarterbacks. But by and large, I think he eschews a lot of contact in practice because, with the kind of offense they run, didn't want to get anybody hurt, tried to stay away from getting guys taken to the ground. So I don't know.
That's such a tough balance to figure out how much you want to go into the full contact, tackling to the ground. That sort of thing increases the risk of injury for your team, but it better prepares them. If you go good on good, ones versus ones, that's the only way you're really going to prepare for a game. The scout teams can give you a look, but they're not going to give you the same look you get on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the fine balance. And I think what the NCAA is trying to do is A, protect the players, and B, level the playing field. Because if you think one team's doing it, well, we better do it, so this team does it. But how do you really regulate that is the other thing. How do you really regulate how much a team hits in practice?
Yeah.
It's
who's going to be your eyes?
You are kind of on the honor.
Who's going to be your eyes?
It would have to be a player making a formal complaint of, hey, we're out there hitting 2-3 days a week when we're not supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's regulated on every level. The NFL, they don't have, they don't tackle to the ground.
Right.
And during the season, they barely hit at all. After the training camp, it's pretty much prepare for the game.
Because you're talking about in the NFL now, you're talking about highly paid individuals, and who they don't want to get their quarterbacks damaged, their running backs, none of those guys. The linemen, especially the offensive linemen, I think they kind of look at them as just pieces that they plug in here and there. Defensive linemen more valued because they're better athletes, but you're talking about $1 million pieces of units of people that you're moving in and out, so you're going to protect them.
Well, don't you want? I mean, I think college kids are protected too. They're not paid. I mean, they do have pretty strict limitations. They have to have time off. The kids that really aren't protected at all, the high school kids on down. I mean, you can hit about as much as you want when you're in Pop Warner. There's no limitations on how much those guys can tackle to the ground, and they do it all the time. In high school, I don't know. I think there are some rules about when you can put on the pads, and you have to have the acclimation period, and when you can hit.
Right.
They've had more now, but not as many, and it's as strict as it is in college and the NFL. They're protecting the college kids too.
Just what you're going to have here is a battle of old school versus new school. Football has changed so much in the last 15 years with the emergence of the spread offense, the emphasis on the passing game, even more emphasis on the quarterback, as if the quarterback hasn't always had emphasis on him. In the past, quarterback could turn and hand it off 35, 40, 45 times a game to the big back. Not today. Not in these spread offenses. He's being called on to throw it 35, 40 times a game if he's that kind of quarterback. And, some people see it as basketball on cleats with the 7-on-7 leagues and everything being emphasized along those lines in the spring and summer. And they wonder if it's good. The old school people are wondering if that's good for football moving forward.
Sports evolve. They change.
All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. So how do you feel about these steps now being implemented by the SEC and others related to football practice? Wise move. Is it going to affect the game? Is it going to affect the preparation? Is it time for football people, old school people? Is it time for the helmet heads, as the great Eddie Fogler would refer to them, to realize that the days of banging and blood and guts and the Oklahoma drill, things of that nature, outdated way of coaching football? That football today is not a game of pure physicality. It's a game of finesse. It's a game of speed. It's a game of passing the football, occasionally running the football, defending the pass, playing physical up front to some degree. But is this a step in that direction to further, some would say put skirts on them? I'm not going to say that. It's still a tough sport no matter what you do. But is this a step in that direction, or is this just common sense, approach to practice to make sure and further enhance safety in some way? Jarmard has something to say.
I mean, if push came to shove, would you eliminate the pads and the helmet and, go to other materials like Kevlar or a softer material like they had in the original days of football that might be more safer? Would that be something you think that could still have the modern audience and the violence that it has today?
You mean like go with the leather helmet?
I mean, not leather. You've got Kevlar now, which would be safer. I mean, they already make helmets out of Kevlar now to prevent concussions. So just eliminate the pads, take the plastic off.
You mean basically go to rugby?
Go closer to rugby. I mean, it could be safer. I would say go closer. They're inherently different sports.
Some say take the face masks off and you'll improve tackling because you'll no longer lead with
You need to keep your head up.
Keep your head up, no longer lower your head and that sort of thing.
You have a lot more broken noses.
True.
And some disfigured faces. I mean, there's a reason why they put face masks on the helmets.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous game, but they've made it safer.
Why do we love football? Why those of us who love football, even those of us who never played the game beyond, high school or even less than that, why do we love football? Do we love football because of the athleticism? Do we love football because of the big hits?
The chess.
Do we love the strategic part of football? Do we just love the scene that a football game gives us, bringing together 80,000 people, the bands, the cheerleaders, the whole social scene? Why do we love football?
It's the chess match for me.
Yeah, I mean, I know where you're going with this. The hits. That's what you're saying.
Well, I'm just asking.
That's not why I watch football.
Asking the question.
That's a part of the game, the hitting, certainly. And when you see a big hit, your reaction, it draws a reaction from the stands, from everybody watching a football game. But that's not why I watch. I don't. I watch for the competition, the strategy. I mean, football is a sport. Just basketball doesn't have hitting, but it's a great game to watch. Baseball doesn't have physical hitting. You watch it because it's a great game to watch. And football is a great game to watch. If you take the hitting out and you protect the players, and they have taken some things out of the game to protect the players, it's still a great game. I don't think the game has suffered. I don't think the game is worse now than it was 15 years ago. I don't think it's harder to watch.
What do you think?
I'd take the pads off if it made it safer. I see rugby being just as violent. If there's the people who want those big hits, they still have them. But if you can guarantee that these players will play longer, have fewer concussions by wearing a Kevlar helmet, I'm all for it. I think you get to see that athleticism still on the field without the pads. I view the pads as a weapon.
Do you enjoy the football of today with teams averaging 50-plus points a game, 560 yards per game, 600 yards per game in some cases, where even one of your poorest offenses, when I say poorest, let me rephrase that, one of your lower-ranked offenses is still averaging over 30, 35 points per game because those at the top are averaging 45, 50. Do you enjoy that? It's sort of like it's like the days of baseball in the college level before they dumbed down the bats, where baseball games are being won in the teens. Or do you enjoy a 10-7 football game?
Yes.
Do you enjoy that more, where, it's grind it out, run the football, run the clock, play defense? I mean, what's the better football game?
I think it's the 10-7.
What's better? What's better?
Chess match.
52-45 or 10-7?
It's the chess match, but you don't get that because they had to dumb down defenses because it was too physical and not safe for the players. You make the game safer and you get back to those defensive chess matchups.
Mm-hmm.
You give the defensive side of the ball, the defensive backs, the ability to play their position, really.
Yeah. I'd like to see them address the rules for defense a little bit. I'd like to see them give the secondary a little more of a break.
Well, I think so. And they looked at that this year, and they didn't make the change because I do think of when they call the targeting penalty, if it's inadvertent, and I know it's a judgment penalty, but if it's inadvertent, even if it's a targeting penalty, give the 15-yard penalty. That's enough. That's a big punishment, and move forward. And if it's a malicious one where the guy leads with his helmet, he's taking a shot at a defenseless player, that's fine. But sometimes the guy leaves his feet and the receiver lowers his shoulder, or the quarterback or whoever that's standing there, and they make helmet-to-helmet contact. By definition of the rule, it's a target, and the guy's kicked out of the game. And if it's in the second half, he's kicked out for the first half of the following game. That is a very steep penalty for something that can be inadvertent.
Yeah.
You think about the speed of the game now and how quickly you have to make that decision as a defensive back. It's impossible.
Well, I do like, and it's taking some time. I think defensive backs are getting used to it now. I think, I don't know what the statistics say. My impression is we're seeing fewer and fewer of these spearing calls being made. And I think that's good. There's no place in football for spearing. It's too dangerous for both the spearer and the receiver of the spear. We shouldn't be teaching the players, the defensive players, to lower your head and just go in there and take somebody out like I think they used to do. Now they're eliminating that. That's good. And I don't particularly like, look, we like the big hits. I'm not particularly crazy about seeing a big blindside hit. I'm not particularly crazy, for example, about, let's say, on a interception return, and you got a guy running down the side of the field. Here comes a big old lumbering offensive lineman trying to chase him down. And there's a linebacker just waiting for him, and he doesn't see him, and he just plows him out. That's dangerous, and I'm not particularly crazy about seeing that either as a media member and a spectator. It draws the oohs of the crowd, the oohs and ahs of the crowd. Like, ooh, look at that big hit, and everybody. But here's the problem: we're not football players, and football players that I watch and see, except for the ones who are getting rung up, they love it. They love the contact. They love the big hits. It's what they live for. You go to a practice, they line up in the Oklahoma drill. We've seen the videos from various practices, and apparently they love it. They eat it up. It's what they work out. It's what they work out all year for to get. So my point is, they're creating these rules now, taking away in practice a lot of the physicality and the contact. And are the players going to say, what are you doing, man? You're putting handcuffs on us.
Well, there are a lot of players that say that. And, guys that have played the game. Will Muschamp has played defensive back on the college level. And he's a guy that will be very open and say these rules are being made by guys in suits that have not played the game, that are getting recommendations to try to make it safer. So this is how they're doing it, not knowing how difficult it is to actually implement that for a player. So it's a tough thing because you want to have the long-term viability of the sport. And when guys are getting concussions and you're looking at the CTEs and these stories are coming out, they have to find ways to make it safer, whether that's making the equipment safer or changing the rules of the game, lessening the contact of the hitting, the less hitting in practice, so they're only hitting in the game. So you don't take as many blows. They have to come up with something, but there has to be a happy medium. I think, like we talked about, kicking guys out of the game, that needs to be a blatant thing. You have to do something stupid to get kicked out of a game, in my opinion. You punch a guy, you get in a fight, you take a cheap shot, throw him out of there. But if it's just you're trying to make a football play, the receiver's going over the middle and you're running full speed, what are you supposed to do? Let him catch it and run by you for a touchdown? You got to hit him. So that's 15 yards, and let's move on.
Welcome back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Coming up, recruiting. Let me see if the Carry-On Joiner has done anything yet. I mentioned the Yankees won today. Brett Gardner, 3-run homer, top of the ninth, 2 outs. 2-2 pitch.
We're going to talk about this some more.
Just reminding everybody, in case you're just tuning in, big story of the day.
How'd the Celtics do?
Are you asking me that on the air, or are you asking me that in my headset? I can never tell when you're on the air. What was that? Was that an up or down?
Oh, this was an up.
Oh, you're asking me on the air how the
Celtics were doing.
The Celtics got rained out last night. Very weird. First rain out in NBA. Look, if you're going to lose in an NBA playoff game, lose big. Don't lose at the buzzer. Those are the kind that kill you. We'll flush that. Flush. Just flush it and move on to Sunday. Sunday's the big game. Sunday will determine where that series is going. Anyway, nothing yet from the Carry-On Joiner. Ernest Jones to announce a little bit after 7. We'll give you recruiting coming up in a little bit. Also, the Panthers had a rookie mini camp. All their rookies have signed. All their draft picks have signed. So they got everybody signed up, had them in camp. We'll hear from Christian McCaffrey coming up. To the phones we go quickly, and it is Jeremy in Roebuck up in the upstate. Hey, Jeremy, welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, Colin. Yeah, I was just going to chime in when you were talking about what to make the game safer. A friend of mine is a referee here in the upstate, a high school ref, and the number one thing that they're stressing at the high school level this year are the blindside blocks, are the ones you were talking about, kick returns, all the kick coverages. But I've said that for years, that I know everybody says, well, keep your head on a swivel. I call it BS.
Yeah.
Because those are cheap shots. I mean, so many times I've seen guys get taken out, and it's not about being tough. I mean, to me, that's just a cheap shot. But he said the high school level, anyone that they see this year, if it's in question, they're calling it, and they're going to call, I guess it's a personal foul on them. But anyway,
it's the equivalent of a sucker punch, really. I mean, a guy's not looking and you hit it. But it's
BS. It's usually it's usually one of the smaller guys that usually doesn't. You'll see a little DB or something, and he'll take out a big guy. But it's a sucker punch, and I really wish that and see that right there. To me, the kick returns are a lot less dangerous if you take that out. I mean, that's where a lot of the injuries come on those blindside. But that just made me think about it when you mentioned that. But hopefully, the collegiate level and the NFL level will start doing that too. But that's all I got, man. I appreciate it.
Steve Spurrier used to complain about, he's a quarterback, and he was talking about his quarterbacks. What's the difference when a quarterback standing in the pocket with his back to the defensive end looking downfield and gets hit? I mean, he's like, if those guys are defenseless in that situation, he was making the point where they protect the receivers and they're trying to go out of the way, but the quarterback's in the pocket. Now, they get a lot of protection in the NFL, especially if you even breathe wrong on a quarterback in the NFL,
right?
Unless you're Cam Newton. You can hit Cam Newton however you want, and it's all good with the officials. But any other quarterback in the NFL, if you have your hand up and it falls a little bit and grazes his face mask, that's 15 yards.
Yeah. Well, you can't take that out of the game. Pass rushing, hitting the quarterback, I mean, that's part of it, as I see it. And look, they do get a lot of protection. You blame your offensive tackle. You blame the running back who missed the block, the tight end who missed the chip, whatever the case may be. At least he's got somebody there in a position to give him protection. If they don't do their job, then they'll pay for it, with bench time or whatever the case may be. What he's talking about and what I was talking about, though, is that situation where, you're chasing a guy across the field because you have to. You got to show the effort. You got to go get the guy who's returning the punt, the kick, the interception. And it's just somebody, you're just, like you said, it's a sucker punch.
You're looking straight ahead.
You're chasing the guy, and here comes another guy. He's just standing there, and he just lowers the shoulder into you. Sometimes it's high. Sometimes it's low. Another thing I'd like to see, too, of course, and I don't know how you legislate this. I mean,
Look at us. Oh, we're changing the game
Well,
here.
I don't like
Bunch of guys sitting in the
Can
studio.
you take out blocking around the knees? I know they've tried to take away some of that as well.
That's just it. You can't hit a guy high. So
Well,
you have to hit him low now.
Why
What's
not do
low?
like what? How about this?
Would you rather get a concussion or
use the strike zone in baseball? Use the waist to the armpits.
Again, very easy for us to say sitting in a cushy studio in downtown Columbia. When you're standing on the field and guys are running around at blazing fast speeds and you're going, okay, we're going to put little targets on instead of numbers, we can put little targets. And if you hit anywhere outside of the target, it's a penalty. It's already hard enough to play defense. Playing defense now is darn near impossible. It's darn near impossible. Everything's set up for the offense. They throw the ball down the field. If you're trying to make a play on the ball, they call pass interference. If you hit a guy going over the middle, it's targeting. If you hit the quarterback 1/2 second after he releases the ball, it's 15 yards, automatic first down. It's very difficult
I don't
to
know
play defense. If you're trying to get by the offensive lineman, it's hands to the face.
I just want to see a great sport survive. You know, it's a great sport. It's
surviving.
A spectacle. Though I wonder how many people who actually go to games are actually there for the game versus there to be drunk and be a nuisance and just to scream at people or to dance to the music, whatever the case may be. I mean, unfortunately, in today's sports world, all right, go ahead and say it, K-Mac. Unfortunately, in today's sports
world, Corn's going to start. He's on his porch here screaming about people on his lawn. There's no parking there.
Unfortunately, in today's sports world, it's less about the event and more about everything else. How can we entertain you within our stadium? Oh, the football game? Don't worry about that. But when you look at your phone, we're going to provide you with the weather, the wind direction. We're going to give you scores from all over the SEC and the ACC. We're going to show you cheerleaders. Oh, the game itself down below, it'll be going on for 2 or 3 hours. You can glance at it every so often between sips of bourbon. That's truly how it's become, has it not?
They are trying to enhance the fan experience.
It's like going to the Kentucky Derby. How many people actually watch the horse race?
I love how everybody wants to knock the fans, but the reason why they're trying
the greatest knocker in the world
to win them back. I mean, they charge them $100 to step foot in the stadium. They charge them $7 for a water, $10 for a hot dog, $30 to park. I mean, it cost a family of four $1,000 to go to a college football game. If
leave them home,
drive them out of town. Yeah, everybody. Sorry, little Timmy. I love you, son, but
I'll see you in a few hours.
Daddy's going to the game by himself. It's the way it has to be. You don't drive yet. I mean, so you have to find ways to get people in there. But the college kids, to counteract that point, that get free tickets at places like Alabama, they're not going to the stadium. So there is a problem. I mean, the younger people are not into sports the same way.
You're saying Alabama students aren't going to games?
Yeah, I read a story last season, recently, about Alabama kind of scratching their heads, and this is a premier program, as we all know. Students that were getting free tickets electing not to go inside the stadium. This is happening at Georgia, too. Programs that have a rabid fan base, and at their schools, South Carolina does this. I'm sure Clemson might have a similar policy where if you don't go, if you get a ticket, you don't go, they track that and you don't get a ticket for the next game or a bigger game. They're trying to figure out ways to figure out who's going and who's not.
DeCarrion Joyner just tweeted that he will not be able to post his final two until tomorrow due to technical difficulties with the video.
So, okay.
Apparently somebody was doing a video for him, and somewhere it didn't work.
They deleted it. Somebody pushed the wrong button.
I don't know, but it'll be tomorrow on that. So, there you go. We'll be back with more recruiting and a whole big hour of sports talk. Don't go away.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Sports Talk on a Friday night. We never slow down on Sports Talk. Other people cruise on Friday. Not here. You cruise here, you get bruised here. You're cruising for a bruising. But not here on Sports Talk. We're thriving. We're thriving for a Brett Gardner 3-run homer.
Oh, my. More of this Brett Gardner stuff.
All right. Good to have you with us.
I'm going to go walk into traffic out here on Main Street.
There is no traffic on Main Street in Columbia.
Goodbye, cruel world.
On Friday afternoon. You go up to the 12th floor and take care of business.
Thank you for the suggestions, Corn, on how to end it.
All right. Phone number 800-956-7266. USC and LSU starting up around 8 o'clock tonight in Baton Rouge. Talk more about that a little bit later on. We've got Notre Dame and Louisville in ACC play. They're scoreless in the 4th inning. And also in baseball this afternoon, I was checking another score from the SEC in a game that was already underway, Kentucky and Georgia. It looked like Georgia was going to take down Kentucky. And as soon as I can find that score, I will tell you how it turned out. Do you see that final, K-Mac?
Did not.
Georgia was beating Kentucky pretty soundly. It was late in the game. Now I can't find the score. Let's see if it's here. There it is. Yeah, Georgia has beaten Kentucky, so you never know. There's the last team in the East beating the first team in the East by a 5-3 score in Lexington. All right. Now, it is time to welcome in here on this Friday edition of Sports Talk, as we do at this time now on Friday nights, birdies and bogeys in South Carolina and tonight beyond, because across the border in Wilmington, North Carolina, is our man, George Bryan III. Good evening, GB3. How are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. And this one's live from Eagle Point, where the Wells Fargo Championship is being conducted. And it might be a little windy.
Yeah.
And I might have to go into my golf voice. But, hey, Phil, this will be the verification. Smell this.
Smells wonderful.
You smell that?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
See, now you use your all your senses, especially your imagination. So,
I smell the salt air just coming off the Atlantic coast. The wind, you're right, K-Mac and I were talking. The scores look high for the most part, so the wind must be up.
Hey, if you were out here, you'd think the scores look low because it is brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Awfully difficult. And, hey, I was talking to Jared. Now, the first thing I need to get out is it's only 3 hours and 20 minutes over here, 3:30 from Columbia. That's pretty daggum. I mean, you can just get here just about as quick as going to Hilton Head or Myrtle Beach.
And I hear the tickets are cheap.
Well, you know, I can't verify, I can't confirm that because
you have a connection, don't you? You have a connection.
Well,
there.
a buddy of mine went. He bought tickets for today and tomorrow, and he said they were $35.
Oh, that's great news because I just got a text while I'm talking to you. I need one ticket. I need to go get one to leave for a friend at the gate. So that's good news for my wallet.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know you've been following Wesley today, but I'm sure watching a bunch of other golf. What caught your eye today amongst the contenders, if you got a chance to see some of them? The lead right now is at 5 under with Billy Hurley, the third, and Seamus Power.
Yeah, and I watched Billy Hurley. He was in front of Wesley, and he made it look pretty easy. And the conditions are extremely difficult, and he's a fine young fella. But I watched Ben Martin for a good bit. I left him to watch Harold Varner. Right now I'm watching Harold Varner and Bob Estes and Shane Birch. But Harold was in Wesley's wedding, so he's like a son to me, and he needs a few birdies coming in. But what got my attention is how hard the greens are. But also I started looking at the leaderboard, the whole leaderboard, and I started realizing that you and I were talking about Dustin Johnson, Mark Anderson, Scott Brown, Kevin Kisner, Ben Martin. Even, hey, Blake Kennedy 4-spotted to get in here on Monday. Now that's a pretty special study. Blake Story, he's a former Clemson player, but we talked a lot about him in junior golf. Blake's approximately 23, 4 years old. He didn't have a good event, but and also Bill Haas is here. Now I haven't seen how Bill is playing, but I'm guessing he's a veteran and these conditions are tough. He'll get better in relation to the field.
He is 2 over, and he's on number 11.
I'll tell you, well, what I'll probably do is wait and catch him for the sun to go down. But, you know, that's the players out here, they haven't seen the golf course, so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun watching how they negotiate the conditions. And on a day like today, you can throw out the yardage book, and you get to watch a lot of creativity. So you asked me, hey, and I got to point out a couple things here now.
Okay.
We're going to preview this. This is just a start. Next week I'm at TPC.
Yep.
In Jacksonville, and this is going to be a regular program. We'll get back to focusing on junior golf, but we're also going to preview South Carolina golf. That's the feature. So I'll probably have to wrap this up. I'm drawing some attention.
We're going to get you thrown off the course.
Yeah, don't lose your phone, whatever you do.
You know, I am breaking the rules. I got a cell phone out, but then, you know, it's not a lot of fun until you stretch the parameters. So, man, y'all have a good evening, and I'll look forward to next time. How about that?
Okay, bye.
We hear some. Excuse me, sir. As we, and George Bryan is
good
being
stuff
kicked
from George,
off.
though, giving us a feel for the course here. You could hear the wind.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about having George back with us, besides talking about golf in our state, he loves talking about the juniors and talking about the ones who make it up the ladder to the various levels and sharing stories about those guys and talking about folks he's coaching and how they're doing. But he'll be with his son. He'll be with his son at TPC next week and on down the line towards the U.S. Open a few weeks away. We're going to have great coverage for you on Friday nights with that.
Now, when he's at the Masters next year, he better not pull that phone out when he calls us.
Correctamundo. Better stay outside the gates. You lose that badge.
If you
don't
even
get it back.
Pull your phone out of your pocket at Augusta National. If they even see you with the phone, you don't have to be on it talking. If they see you with the cell phone,
it is pretty amazing to me how at Augusta you can get so many thousands of people so quiet at the same time, and they just do it. I think
by fear. The same way
fear or just respect.
The same way Stalin kept the Soviets in check.
There's just
if you make a peep, you will you won't be executed. So you end up a little bit better than you did under the Red Army, but they will ban you for life from the course.
Maybe it is the fear or the respect or whatever the case, but there's nothing like the Masters. There's just nothing. There's no other sporting event that, you know, in the media that you deal with like the Masters. You have to refer to the crowd. You can't call them a crowd. You can't call them a gallery. You can't call them fans. You have to call them patrons. They frown upon anything else. And if you're in the media and you want to keep your credential, you have to turn in
your homework.
You have to turn in your homework at the end of the tournament within a few weeks. I'm assuming the CBS have to show proof of performance. I'm not sure they do.
They make Jim Nance,
but the rest of us do.
His tape.
You have to send in evidence of proof of coverage. And I guess that's true for other broadcast media, except CBS and maybe some newsprint. But they're tough, but you know what? They have pretty much stuck to their guns over all these years with some change.
Made some exceptions.
Some change.
Condoleezza Rice is a member now. They've made some changes.
Well, sure they have.
They've gotten with the times a little bit. By the way, speaking of the Masters, for anybody interested in such things, they're open enrollment to get in the lottery for practice round tickets and regular tickets. That's open now. It's open to June 1st. So if you've ever wanted to go and you want to try the luck of the draw, you put in for them. If you get the practice round tickets, it's a 1-year deal. I'm pretty sure if you get the regular badges, though, you might be able to keep those bad boys for life.
Let me mention, if you want to watch Ernest Jones do his thing, Hale McGranahan from SC Country is there live, and he's going to stream it on Facebook at Gamecock Insiders on his Facebook deal. So you can watch that coming up here momentarily. We'll be back. Okay, we're back here on Sports Talk. Give you recruiting in just a moment. K-Mac, take over for about 30 seconds. I got to do something.
I'll be happy to take over for 30 seconds, Corn. By the way, this gives me a chance. We have a segment coming up later in the program. We're going to test Corn's sports movie knowledge. Since last night he could not, well, I don't want to say he could not. He struggled to name a single character from Star Wars on Star Wars Day.
Who made it Star Wars Day?
Who made the
President
4th?
Trump?
May the 4th.
The POTUS.
POTUS
45.
What's May the 4th got to do with Star Wars?
May the 4th be with you.
That's so stupid.
Oh,
That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That I actually don't disagree with. But that being said, that point aside, we are going to test your sports movie knowledge. I'm not going to make it hard. We're not going to go with pop movies that I know you haven't seen. We're going to go with popular sports movies that you probably have. So we're going to give you some hints. We're going to give you some hints, but that's coming up later in the show.
Okay. Thank you for that. Recruiting. Can we do recruiting?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it.
To recruiting. Ernest Jones has committed to USC. Linebacker from Waycross, Georgia, was favoring the Gamecocks big throughout the process. Picked South Carolina over Florida and Duke. Those were his other top teams, but he had some other big-time offers. And we had a chance to talk to him about this just a little while ago, and give me a moment here, and I'll just got to bring up his comments. I think this is an excellent pickup for South Carolina based on his offer list. His size, 6'2", 205. He gives the Gamecocks their second commitment of the week, their sixth newcomer in the class, at 7 all total because of Tyreek Johnson, who's held over from 2017. He made a couple of visits to USC in the spring for practice and for the game. He said those visits gave him the comfort zone he was seeking. He just felt like home, loved the staff. He knows that South Carolina has struggled lately, and he felt like that he needed to be there to change things around. He also sees where the staff's produced a lot of NFL talent. He expects to play middle linebacker with the Gamecocks, and he said, I love contact. I'm ready to hit anything. I'm a thumper. He also had offers from Auburn, Georgia Tech, LSU, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Oregon, Kentucky, and others. So Ernest Jones, it's actually Ernest Jones the fourth, but Ernest Jones commits to USC. Meantime, USC quarterback targets Chase Wolf from Cincinnati this evening, announced a commitment to Wisconsin. Pick Wisconsin over USC and Boston College were his other top schools. So he is headed to Wisconsin. He's off the board for South Carolina, which, of course, the Gamecocks have put a lot of their quarterback recruiting efforts into Dakereon Joyner, and they're hopeful of getting him on Father's Day. And then there's Tyler Shuck. There's another quarterback they have been high on and been recruiting with a lot of effort here of late, and they have some other quarterback possibilities that they can turn to. They'd like to bring in 2 in this class. USC already has a commitment on the offensive line out of Tennessee, working another big-time Tennessee offensive lineman in Jerome Carvin from Cordova. He went to spring games at USC, Florida, Tennessee, and Auburn. He's also been to Alabama. He talks with USC offensive line coach Eric Wolford almost every day, expects to see him soon at a practice. And he said Wolford's been emphasizing to him that he coached in the NFL and he knows what it takes to get there. He also really emphasizes the family feel at South Carolina. He plans to release a top 8 list soon, 8 or 10, maybe after his spring practice, and reduce that to 5 by the start of his season. He's confident USC will make the top 8. He went there for the spring game. He liked it. He said he got a good vibe from the place. He liked the facilities. He wants to take all 5 officials, make his decision around midseason or end of the season. Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Memphis, Missouri, Colorado, Georgia, and Florida also have offered him. Defensive back DJ Ivey of Homestead, Florida, was offered by USC. He currently is a Miami commitment. He has not totally shut down his recruiting. He says he's still open to schools, but he is committed to Miami He said USC is another SEC school, and he said, I know that they see a lot of potential in him. He also has offers from Auburn, UCF, and others. USC offered 2019 linebacker King of LaGrange, Georgia. He visited USC last month. Clemson defensive back target Verone McKinley III, Plano, Texas, was offered by Oregon. USC quarterback target Tyler Shuck, Chandler, Arizona, was offered by Florida State. Pretty amazing. This guy has just blown up. When USC was the first Power 5 offer for him, he didn't really have big-time offers to speak of. And since then, Michigan, now Florida State, Alabama, others of that ilk have jumped in with offers for him. Clemson and USC target defensive end Azeez Ojulari, Marietta, Georgia, was offered by North Carolina and TCU. Wilson defensive back Zion Keith was offered by Charleston Southern. Clemson offered 2020 receiver Kobe Hudson of LaGrange, Georgia. USC also offered him this week. Ben Lippen linebacker Kyle Wright and offensive lineman Blake Harris, they were offered by the Citadel. Basketball. USC, of course, pursuing 6'7" Justin Minaya of Huntington Park, New Jersey, made his official visit with the Gamecocks Tuesday through Thursday, has not committed at this point, but USC made a strong impression. Seton Hall, Temple, Illinois, other schools he's considering, but he met with the USC players, the coaches. He likes Frank Martin a lot, and they tell him they see him as a big guard, something they feel like they need because Dozier's gone and other people graduated. He's going to talk things over with the family and determine his next step. Not sure if he'll look at other schools or go ahead and make his decision. He averaged 20 points, 11 rebounds, 5 blocks, and 3 assists per game last season. Justin Minaya of Harrington Park, New Jersey. There you go with recruiting. Recruiting for now here on Sports Talk. And, of course, you can follow it on the internet on our website, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter. Use the hashtag STRecruiting. Got anything else?
I do not.
Okay.
Well, that's all you.
Let's hit the phones again. Let's go to Alex in Somerville for our next call here on Sports Talk on a Friday night. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. Here, Somerville's beautiful. Spring is coming around. Pine trees are looking beautiful down here.
Yeah.
And but I want to tell you, the last 30 minutes of the previous hour is, I have to say, it was the best. This is one of the best radio shows in the country. Why
would you say that? Was it something I said?
Because, I listen to, I'm very careful with my time when I listen to. I'm all over the place. I listen to National Public Radio, Rush Limbaugh. I go back and forth and get conflicting views. But you guys, and I listened about a month and a half ago, Bobby Harton called in for something, and when y'all are having I think the end of the year, I don't know what it was, several months ago, and so he has a unique take. And you guys do too, and you're better than the national shows for sure.
Well, thank you. I mean, we just try to do our thing and give people a consistent product night in and night out. I'd like to think for the 2 hours that you're with us here, you know what you're going to get.
Well, yeah. Yes, sir. I don't mean I'm not here to patronize you. I do want to make a point.
Oh,
in that,
I can keep patronizing.
Yeah.
No, by all means, proceed. The floor is yours, sir.
Listen, when I say you can call in and praise us, I really mean that. You can call in and praise us from time to time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, ESPN. Okay. Well, I'm missing, of course, the profession, the pro.
Well, he's off tonight.
Tom Hayes, but you guys, I'm very careful with my time. I talk to people I work with who are in sports, and they're from Alabama. I talk to them about your show and Bobby Harton's, and to me, I'm just really how their attention's all over the place. There's too much other things going on with the internet and their iPhones, but I'm really with the layoffs from.
All right, I got to jump in on you. Hang on a second. Be right back.
The latest on this weekend's race is around the corner. The full Monty on NASCAR is next. This is Sports Talk.
Let's go racing here on Sports Talk as they are going fast and turning left at Talladega between the raindrops. Welcome into Sports Talk for the full Monty on NASCAR. Monty Dutton. You can follow Monty's stuff and order his books on his website, his blog, MontyDutton.com. Always good to have Monty with us. Now, Monty, I want to ask you a question. I was thinking about this today. What are we going to talk about with Monty? Here we go again with another restrictor plate race at Talladega. Of course, we had one at Daytona earlier. And, you know, some people love them. Some people hate them. A lot of people fall just in between. Now, I know that you are a happily unmarried man, but let's just say you were to stumble into the France family, maybe marry a cousin, and Brian France would have you come into his office and ask you for suggestions on how to improve restrictor plate racing, if it needs to be improved. What would you tell him?
I have never bought the notion that just slapping a plate on something to limit horsepower is the best. It seems like to me that there ought to be a better way. Maybe this is a cheaper way. Maybe it's simple. But with all the technology and automobiles and rev limiters and the things of that nature and chips they can put in engines, I have just always thought that there was a better way to do it, and yet they've been doing it this way for parts of the last 4 decades.
Yeah. It would seem to me that if you want to reduce horsepower, just make the engine smaller, but give the drivers the opportunity to separate and pass and do things that you can do on the mile tracks, the mile and a half tracks. I mean, am I just like totally out in the stratosphere with that idea?
You're not out in the stratosphere, but it's a little bit overly simplistic because sometimes if you just hold down horsepower alone, one of the problems with restrictor plates is that there's less acceleration short term. So today's cars can't just pull out and slingshot by, which to me was the most exciting thing that ever happened at plate races. They actually weren't plate races. I think you don't want them having 1,000 horsepower like they might at another one. And I think that you might try to make the situation where they couldn't go wide open all the way around the track. But what I'm saying is that's a little bit overly simplistic, because sometimes if you reduce the horsepower, nobody can pass each other at all.
How'd you like my idea about you marrying into the France family? Would you go for that?
I would say that has never been more unlikely than right now.
What'd you pick up today from watching practice? I watched some of the early practice from the Xfinity division. Didn't see any of the Cup practice. They were limited, I know, but did you pick up anything from watching or listening?
Well, I think that this is right now when you go to these races, to me, when they make changes, I think that the changes are less evident. They've since they made it where they don't have those 2-car drafts now, I think that there's less of a chance of a huge upset. I think with the current, when you look at it, it's back to teamwork and the big boys working together. So I think a victory by a David Reagan or a Trevor Bayne is more unlikely right now in the current rules incarnation. But I think that really when you get right down to it, it doesn't matter what happens. This race Sunday is all about Dale Earnhardt Jr. Because if he wins, the people are fired up because this is maybe, he's best at plate tracks and he hasn't won all that much recently. So he has his best chance. He's won more races at Talladega than any other track. So if he win, people would like to see him win. They'd like to see him get one more win. Secondly, if he doesn't do well, people are saying, well, that's it. He just doesn't have it anymore. If he goes out there and just finishes 12th, it will make people think that he's not the driver he once was after all the problems with concussions. And the third thing is it's going to scare people to death if he's in a bad wreck, which could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like to me that whoever, it doesn't matter who takes the checkered flag, the story for good, bad, or in between is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, that's why the powers that be at NASCAR need to make sure that he wins.
They don't do that, do they?
Well, if he does
Rig
win,
it.
I promise you a segment of the viewing public will claim that is the case.
I might be one of them, but it'll be okay. And that would be good. People can debate whether they did it. That would be on First Take. Embrace the debate. That's all ESPN does now. That's good for NASCAR. So they need to go full-fledged WWE.
Well,
so you are completely dismissing the notion of integrity.
Yeah, of course.
Well, but I mean, Monty, we've talked before about the coincidental victories that tend to pop up on NASCAR, over time, where, like the first race at Daytona after Dale Sr. died, who wins it but Dale Jr. That's just one of many circumstances you can cite. But anyway, I don't care to get into conspiracy theory. If Dale Jr. wins, let's assume that he wins it on his own merits and the handling of the car and the decisions made by his crew chief. If it comes down to that.
Here's my balance in this area.
Okay.
I believe that sometimes strange things happen. I think sometimes people have to. Sometimes people get a break. I think when Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the summertime race in Daytona after his father was killed, I think that's one of the most suspicious sporting events that I've ever seen. But it should be added that even if you have a thoroughbred in a race of mules, you still got to ride it. So you can't actually fix the outcome. You maybe one car's a little bit faster, but that's 500 miles where you've got to not make any wrong moves regardless. So I think it's possible that at times that NASCAR has manipulated, but as far as I think that the hardest sport in the world to actually fix would be a stock car race with 40 cars on the track.
Yeah. How are you going to get all those people to agree to take their foot off the gas at the same time?
Whenever there's a conspiracy theory, my personal view is that you really shouldn't investigate if there's not one scintilla of evidence. I mean, you've got to have somebody who says it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully before everybody else is passed on and it's 35 years from now. But I mean, I really do think that I think as a journalist, to really delve into something, I have a big problem today. Like, there's a lot of really gimmicky, internet-bred leads. You see a lot of stories that have a hugely spectacular lead, and it has nothing to do with the rest of the story, or a headline that doesn't depict it. Last week I saw a story that said that Joey Logano won because Brian France's 6-year-old son was his good luck charm because they were playing during driver introduction. Wasn't a quote from Joey Logano saying that. There wasn't a quote from little Luke. There wasn't a quote from his dad. It was like basically the most kiss-up lead in the history of journalism.
Maybe he won because they did something illegal, because he got penalized this week.
If he's charmed by the royal family, it certainly got withheld yesterday.
Yes. What'd you make of that ruling and the allegation there?
I think that the use of the word encumbered is about the stupidest thing in the whole sporting world for something like that. His victory was encumbered. Isn't that got something to do with my income taxes?
My income.
I mean, that's the stuff. It's like it's tainted, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the sponsors, they might not like. Our marketing survey showed a negative reaction to tainted. What's another word we can come up with? Oh, just pick a word from the dictionary at random, and we'll change the meaning.
He loses his crew chief this weekend. He loses 25 points and any potential playoff benefits that come from a victory this weekend. That's pretty heavy stuff. We have got to run, sir. Have a great weekend. Real quick, in 10 seconds, give me a driver who's going to win, who's going to pull it out.
Brad Keselowski.
There you go. Brad Keselowski. Thank you, Monty. Have a great weekend. Thanks you.
A lot.
Monty Dutton, the full Monty on NASCAR here on Sports Talk, and we'll be back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Thanks to Monty Dutton for his weekly contribution to us from the racetracks. Racing this weekend, qualifying is tomorrow morning at Talladega. Hopefully, it's going to be cool. It was 50 degrees in Talladega today. You know, at Wrigley Field today in Chicago, where the Yankees won 3-2, it was like in the 30s. Really chilly, wind blowing off the lake.
Right.
That wind not strong enough to stop Brett Gardner from hitting a 3-run homer in the top of the ninth to win that game for the Yankees.
How'd the Celtics do?
If you were not aware of that.
Yeah, you haven't talked much about the Celtics tonight.
Well, that's old news. I
Okay.
prefer dealing with
Okay. Just want to make sure.
relevant, the fresh.
Can we go
I'm
back
all
to the
about
phones?
the fresh. Back to the phones we go. Alex in Somerville. Is this the same Alex, or we have more than one Alex in Somerville?
Well, we dropped him earlier. He dropped.
Sorry, Alex, we had to interrupt you there.
And it's always good, no matter who he's playing for, a College of Charleston alum doing well.
Yes,
and,
sir.
Mr. Gardner. And but I just want quickly about, I say that the previous hour you guys were talking was really, I think, great radio. And but I want to talk about a couple of things real quickly. Is the ESPN, they dumped a bunch of people. And I listen to Bobby Harton a lot down here as well, and he thinks it's gotten too political. And I think it has. I think you and K-Mac, K-Mac the Pro, and Bobby Harton, you give your views, but you don't preach. I think ESPN preaches. About a week ago, I have Time Warner. I watched one of their shows, and they had some guy up on, they're sitting there on the stage, and some sociology professor from Brandeis University, who had written a book called Tears That Will Never Stop Flowing or something like, what I'm saying? And the whole thing's gotten just so political, I just can't take it anymore. I don't want to be preached to.
Well, and thank you. We have to go. I found a quote or a comment, and I guess it was a quote the other day from an ESPN. I don't know if she's still with ESPN or not.
Cone. I believe she is.
Is she still there? Linda Cohn? I mean, she was one of the mainstays of ESPN and just strictly a reporter. And I guess she was asked about the cuts and things happening at ESPN. And she said, basically, in her opinion, they've gotten away from their core. They've gotten away from what made them what they were. I think that's a very important lesson to remember. You gotta take care of your base. You gotta take care of your core and stick to your core beliefs and not be going in all kinds of
what happened
different
to
directions.
ESPN is they bid too much for the rights for the NBA, the NFL, college football, and they jacked up their subscription prices. The service providers had to jack up their rates, and people started cutting the cord. I mean, granted, I agree the program has changed at ESPN. That's not the issue. Like, I'm not going to cancel my cable if I don't like MSNBC. I'm like, these people are nuts.
Well, you can't.
Are you going to cancel?
You can't. I mean,
yeah, you can. People do it every day.
No. What I'm saying is, but then
their ratings aren't the problem.
You can't get rid the way with the bundling the way it is. You're going to have it. Now, you might ignore it if you want to have cable television. Now, if you want to go the route of just having Roku or Swing or whatever it's called, with the different streaming forms where you can just watch whatever you want to watch based on the app that you have available to you, you can do that. I think that, with ESPN and all the commentary, they've got to fill up their days. I give you that. They got to have daytime programming. You can't have games on all the time, and people don't want to watch tractor pulls anymore. And so they give you these shows. You can watch them, or you can choose not to watch them. And I don't watch them myself. Number one, because they don't interest me, and number two, I'm busy doing other things. Now, the play-by-play that they own, you have no choice but to watch them because they own everything for the most part in the market. So you have to tune in. You have to have ESPN if you're a sports fan to watch the games.
Yeah,
because that's where they are.
You can stream them. There's ways to do it.
But you still have to watch it through the ESPN app.
Right. But you can order that now. I mean, there's a business flaw that they have. It's not because they got political.
But
all right,
people are being driven away from watching their programming because of some of the positions they take. But anyway, that's the case.
I mean, I think that's not the major issue. I really don't. I mean, that might be part of it, but it's finances. But
they still make billions of dollars. It's not like they're going broke.
Right.
They still have 90 million subscribers paying $6 a month.
7, actually.
Well, whatever it is. So,
all right, let's do our thing. All right, Corn. Now we're going to.
You talking about driving an audience away? No. Goodbye, people. Okay. Have a good weekend.
No, here we go.
On Monday.
No, I want to see if anybody listening. They're going to probably get this.
Good question.
99% of the people listening are going to get this. I just don't know if you are. We're going to play a little clip. You have to figure out this movie. Hold on. Here's the line. No, that's just that you're just playing the music to the movie?
This is so well done.
All right. Here's a line. Give him a line to the movie. Don't get that. That was the intro. Give him a line from the movie.
The Zen philosopher Basho once wrote, "The flute with no holes is not a flute. And a donut with no hole is a donut." Unbelievable. Thank you very little.
Do you know this movie, Corn?
Should I?
Yes, you should, but we can give you another clue. Do you need another clue?
This is a popular movie?
This is a very popular movie.
Very popular.
A very popular sports movie.
Oh, sports movie.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to give you now. I told you before.
That was Caddyshack.
There you go. He got it.
I bet you slice into the woods $100.
Oh, yeah. Caddyshack.
It's illegal at Bushwood, sir.
You got another one for me?
No, we only did one. We'll do one a week.
Y'all spent all day working on this?
It wasn't all day, but give them the last. We got to play the last clip.
I sure hope the bosses aren't listening to this and they realize what they're paying Jared to do. My goodness.
All right, the last clip.
He's a Cinderella boy. Choosing his eyes.
Get it? You would have got it here.
He lines up this last shot. He's got about 195 yards left, and he's gonna. Looks like he's
that
got
sounds like George today from Wilmington.
This is gonna be George next year.
Do we have the rights to play this? Did we?
No, you can do a small clip.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get sued
Bill Murray's down in Charleston. He said we're good.
It looks like a miracle. It's in the hole. It's in the hole.
Well, Jared's getting a laugh out of this.
All right, so Corn is 1-0.
Yes.
On the movie trivia.
Bring it to me.
Good job.
We'll
bring it to you every Friday. Yeah. So we'll see.
I guarantee you, you will not slip by me because I watched it twice, back-to-back nights this week on 2 different channels. A Few Good Men.
Oh, well, that's not a sports movie. But
it's got to be a
branch out.
We're going to sports movie.
I'm throwing these softballs to start out.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of popular sports movies. Have you seen Caddyshack? Or did you just recognize
I have
the line?
seen Caddyshack.
Okay.
Yes, I have seen Caddyshack.
He didn't get it off the bumper music.
No, I didn't catch the bumper music. Okay. I mean, I thought maybe that was I don't know what I thought that was. I was thinking something about that movie at Hollywood, the Hollywood with the detectives with Eddie Murray. Who was
Eddie Murray, the former Baltimore Orioles first baseman.
Eddie Murphy. What movie was that?
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
See, I'm good at this game.
Who you picking in the Derby tomorrow, K-Mac? Back to our business.
I couldn't name one horse in the Derby.
I couldn't either.
Is Barbaro racing?
I don't think so.
Oh,
he'll be looking down upon the field. Or she. I think it was a she. Let me update some baseball scores. ACC's got a lousy weekend of games. Miami 3-1 over Bethune-Cookman. Wake Forest leading Boston College 8-3. Louisville 1-0 over Notre Dame. NC State 3-1 over Delaware. And Florida State is beating Pacific 3. Not exactly a scintillating baseball in the ACC this weekend. Clemson plays Nevada starting tomorrow. In the Southern Conference, East Tennessee is losing to the Citadel. That's the final. Hey, the Bulldogs going to win 7-5 over the Bucks. And Furman and Sanford postponed tonight because of the rain. Very quickly, let me check the Big South for you. In the Big South, we've got Gardner-Webb is leading Winthrop. Big game there, 2-0. Big game for Winthrop. And High Point leads Charleston Southern 4-0. Okay. Thank you, guys. Great job. Thanks to everyone for being with us. Thank you to our affiliates. Big week next week on Sports Talk. We'll see you Monday night.